Well, thought I'd do another quick cancer update. Y'all probably getting tired of this crap, but I don't know. Maybe it's good therapy for me to do this. But anyway, here it goes. So I went to see a proton radiation therapist today, and basically he said that I need to get going. That's what they all say. You got to do something now. You got to do something now, or else you're gonna die. You know. He said that I need to get going on some sort of treatment as quick as possible. Of course, I didn't tell him that I'm taking dog dewormer. You know, he'd think I was crazy probably, of course. But he did say that at my level of cancer that I'm at right now, that it's kind of like he thought it would probably be 50-50. Some doctors would say that I needed to do the radiation and chemo, and some doctors would just say I'm fine just doing the radiation. And I don't know if I said this in another video or another update, but the last time I went to the oncologist, the chemo rate oncologist, he said that I didn't have to do chemo. I could just do radiation. But he didn't say that I was that thing about I was at that kind of at that cusp of not doing chemo and just doing radiation. So that helps me decide real quick that I'm not going to do chemo. I mean, I don't want to do chemo, and I just want to do it. I don't want to do radiation, and I definitely don't want. If I'm going to do radiation, I don't want to do the X-ray radiation. And I'm not the expert to try to explain it, but there's a difference between X-ray radiation and proton radiation. The big difference is how much damage it does and the cost. It's way more expensive to do proton radiation. Therefore, it's hard to get insurances to pay for it. So, and he said, you know, for whatever reason, my insurance may not pay for it, but we're going to go forward as if they are. I'm going to go back mid-October to this guy's office and have either a PET scan or a CT scan done. The reason I say either is because they may not do a PET scan once again because insurance may not allow it. But he said they probably would allow a CT scan, and CT scans will basically tell me what I'm wanting to know. What I'm wanting to know is it growing? Is it staying the same, or is it reducing as far as the growth goes? So a PET scan would be best because PET scan would actually show the cancer itself. CT scans it's not going to. I don't know the difference, but CT scans not as good as PET scans, but CT scans is good for what I want to know. Is it growing or is it not growing? At least that's what he said. So either way, PET scan, CT scan, I'm gonna do one or the other and find out if it's growing. If it's not growing, then it's a pretty easy decision. Hey man, I just keep doing the dog dewormer and go back in 3 or 4 months and see if it's still continuing to grow or reduce in size. And that's important. It's an important point that I make there because I've been told, and this doctor said this too, that it can actually reduce and you think, hey, you're doing real good, and then all of a sudden it starts growing again. So you have to keep on top of it, even if it does show that it's reducing in size. We're still gonna have to keep a steady, you know, keep a good watch over it. And when I do go back, I'm gonna when I do the CT scan or the PET scan, either or, I'm gonna go ahead on that same day and plan or start making the preparations there in that office to go ahead and start the proton radiation therapy if my insurance has approved it. And then when I get the results back, I just told that doctor, I said, hey, if I get the results back and it's reducing, then I'm going to say sayonara, see you in 3 or 4 months, and move on. If it hasn't reduced, and especially if it hasn't reduced, I'm not going to do anything either. But if it's growing, then I'm probably going to, providing my insurance will pay for the proton, I'll do the proton radiation therapy and continue to do this dog dewormer, even though they tell you not to do anything. I mean, the doctor's going to tell you stop all that, anything extra that you're doing. I don't care about what they're saying. But anyway, I think I would do the proton radiation therapy if I approved for it. My big dilemma would be if it's growing And if I can't get approved for proton radiation therapy, then my decision's pretty much made. I ain't doing chemo. That's how I feel right now this minute. But then I'd still have to make the decision as to whether or not to do X-ray radiation, which is still pretty, at the levels that they want to give it to me, it's pretty devastating. You know, it's pretty tough on the body. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it's going to kill me or nothing like that. I'm just saying it's going to be tough, and I just don't want to do it. I don't want to take the chance of losing my teeth. I don't want to be put on a feeding tube. I don't want to, there's a lot of stuff I don't want to hurt my larynx. I don't want to do any of that stuff. So I don't want to do it. So then I got at that point, if that's the situation that I'm in, then I gotta have a, discussion with myself and with God, and, really come to terms with what I've been saying all along, that God is telling me to do this. And by the way, I want to be clear. Just because God is saying that I need to do this doesn't mean it's going to be easy. God has put a lot of people in some pretty bad positions. I mean, I am not in no way, shape, or form equating myself with David of the Bible, David, King David. I'm not King David. But the story, though, if you know the story, he's a young kid, and God told him to go fight Goliath using only a smooth stone and a slingshot. Goliath was like this big, 8 foot, 10 foot tall dude. He had all this armor on. Go read the story, man. The guy was a real tough dude. And I can't help but think that David couldn't have been wondering, are you sure about this, God? But he had the faith, man, and he just walked right on out there and did that. And I'll tell you right now, I don't know. I am not David. I am not King David. And I don't know that I have that kind of faith. I want to, of course. But whatever I do, and however it turns out, I want God to get the glory. That's what I want. And I don't know for sure how I go about that. I don't know what I need to do that. But, and I don't know how would I give God the glory if I'm sitting here saying, God's telling me to do this dewormer, and then I go back in 6 weeks from now and it's growing, and I give in and do all this radiation, this X-ray radiation and stuff. And now if I get cured, it's, how can I give God the glory? Well, I did what they told me to do in the first place. The only way in my mind I can give God glory is just hold fast, hold firm, and say I'm not going to do any of those treatments. And I don't know. I do not know if I have that much faith and if I'm that strong. That's something I got to really come to terms with. One of the things that helps me is I don't want to do that. I'll do the proton radiation. I don't think it's not going to be a cakewalk either, but I'll do that. But that pass-through X-ray radiation, where it kills your saliva glands and damages everything it touches, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And chemo's out. So, or at least right now. I'll never say never. So pray for me. Pray I listen to God. And just pray I'm not faced with that. I don't have to make that kind of determination. I'm not David. I don't want to be David. I don't want to go down in history as the guy that faced Goliath. That's not what but I certainly don't want to not mind God. I want to be obedient to God. So pray for me.